Okay. Just kind of wanted to talk a little bit. Obviously, all alerts have kind of been dropped since.
Yeah.
Um, so I kind of just want to see if you can rewind for me. Where were you and kind of what was your mindset going through when you first got that
The first
tsunami
alert?
warning? Yeah, the first alert.
Yeah. So obviously the first alert was in the early afternoon for us here in Hawaii. We were still working, offices were open, things were happening. So I was in the process of moving from one office to another, and the alert came. And for us here in Hawaii, we get a lot of these, so I wouldn't say we don't pay attention to it, but we listen to it maybe with some scrutiny or some half of our ear, and that's what we did. We listened to that first alert, and I said, okay, there's an earthquake that happened in Russia, and we are under a tsunami warning, I think it is, or the first alert that came out. So the office as a whole, at around 2:30 ish, when that first one came in, the office as a whole was okay. Something's happening, something got triggered, and then then I began to move from one office to the other. I was in that transit mode. I was moving to another office, so moved to another. I was going down the street, and then all of a sudden, I sensed or I noticed that the traffic was heavier than normal for that time of the day. So I turned on the radio, started to listen, and then all of a sudden, it turned into more of a warning, and it happened pretty quickly. So the freeways started to get a bit more congested earlier than it would normally be. So that was my first tip, that people were starting to move around. So as I started to call and talk to others, other businesses and or some of my family members, they were telling me that downtown, our downtown district, Honolulu, the business district was starting to shut down. They were telling some of the medical facility offices, those that were non-essential, to go home. So this was happening while I was driving. This was happening. So what? In the course of maybe 5, 10 minutes, all of this was happening. Called back to my office and told my office. They kind of knew what was happening. I told them that they should, let's go close our office, and everyone should start heading home and doing what they need to do, because the traffic was starting to get heavier and heavier. So as I got closer to the second office that I was moving to, which is near the airport area, that's when it started to get, you started to notice that something not normal was happening. The freeway would start to get a bit more congested. Normally traffic begins in Hawaii at about 4 o'clock, 4, 5, 6 is when traffic starts. This was at 2 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock. So it was not normal. So once I got to that second office, that building started to empty out. So already in myself, I'm thinking, okay, this is serious. Things are happening. People are starting to move. Buildings are starting to shut down. So I quickly had to change my plans, what I was going to do, and I started to make my way since we closed our main office, started to make my way to picking up my wife. And she works in the downtown district, the business district. So as I was communicating with her and talking with her, she's saying the same thing. They're releasing people early. The downtown district is starting to empty out. And that's where I was headed. So what would normally take me a 15-minute drive from where the Honolulu airport is located to the downtown business district is about 15 to 20-minute drive. It took me almost 2 hours to traverse that span I think it's 5 miles max, to that downtown area. So I knew that I was in for a long afternoon. I got stuck in this traffic, in sitting, and then of course listening to the alerts, and of course all the radio stations are broadcasting things, and you start to listen to them. What I observed was people, for the most part, were, we like to say here, driving with aloha. People were cognizant of each other, and they're patiently moving through. Now, they put out a time of 7:15, I think it was, or 7:17, that when the first wave was supposed to hit. So I'm now sitting in traffic at about 4. So I'm 3 hours out from this, right? So I'm thinking, okay, we should be good. We should be good. So I'm making my way down what we call Nimitz Highway. And it runs parallel to the harbor, the Honolulu harbor. So it's right along the coast, right along the sea line. And you can see the ocean as you're driving towards that downtown area. So on that Nimitz Highway, you have tourists trying to get into Waikiki, and you can tell by the cars that they drive that they're tourists. And then you have the travel agency buses, those that are the tour buses that take tourists around Hawaii. They were stuck in the same traffic, and they're trying to get into Waikiki. So I'm sitting in this 4 o'clock, let's call it 4 o'clock, and an hour goes by and I'm still sitting in there. 2 hours goes by and I have not reached the downtown area where my wife is, and that's only a 15-minute drive. I've not reached there yet. And that you can start to see as it gets closer, because the sirens were, every hour they were going off to just let everybody know. So they're basically counting down to the 7:15 hour, or the 7:15 time. So you could see by the time it was about 5:30ish, 6 o'clock, you could kind of sense that people were getting a bit antsy on the road, and they're trying to find different ways to, they're kind of cutting in and moving around a bit more than they were an hour ago. Everybody was driving with aloha, and all of a sudden that aloha maybe kind of went thin a bit, and they're starting to move around because they're starting to hear that it's getting closer. And of course, where I'm at, you're sitting right next to the ocean. So I gotta, admit, I was a bit anxious as well, because I didn't know how far we had to go, or how fast I was going to get through the traffic. Fortunately, got there, picked up my wife, and then we were able to head out and get back home. So that's what it was like. What did it feel like as the time gets closer to that? As the time went on, there's that anxiety and thinking that, okay, if this doesn't work. In fact, I did. I called my wife and I told her, if we have to think of another plan. If we're not going to be able to get through this traffic and home, we have to figure out how do we get through this traffic and go towards the mountains, which we call Mauka, go towards the mountain. So we had a plan B in place, but we didn't need to go that route. We were able to get through fine.
Yeah.
Did a lot of talking, so
No,
if that helps.
answered a lot of it.
Dad, can you bring down your camera
Yeah,
a little bit?
I was just gonna, I'm glad you pointed that out. Just because when we bring up your name, we don't want it to cut you off. So,
Oh, that's fine. You can cut it. You can cut it.
So you mentioned a little bit of the aloha wearing thin a little bit in the course of those 2 hours and 3 hours that you were sitting in the traffic. Obviously, you mentioned having that plan B in place with you and your wife. Was there ever a moment where you maybe thought, okay, there may need to be a plan C in place as well?
Yes, there was. And I don't know if this speaks well to me, but I don't think I don't think I was 100% prepared for this, and kind of beat myself up a bit because I wasn't. I was running low on gas. So I was thinking this is the bad time for me to try to figure out where to go and get gas along this route that I was at. So the plan B, the plan C was to get as far as I could. If I did not make it to the gas station, that we would just get as far away as we could from the coastline and park and wait until things settled down, traffic cleared up, and then we were able to get to a gas station. That was plan C, was to just stay in place and wait it out in someplace safe.
Yeah. Now, I guess kind of now that you made it somewhere safe and kind of we've seen those advisories now since lifted for the
Yeah.
island, kind of is there any moment that now you're taking a step back and saying, how can I better be prepared for the next time this happens?
Yeah, a bunch of things. Part of my responsibility in the day, I'm responsible for employees at our office. And that part of me was going through my head. How do we prepare for this at the workplace? So some of that was going through my head, and there's some ideas that we have. But personally, how to better prepare? Make sure that these things can come up quickly, and these alerts can come up fast. Unlike a tropical storm, we can see this thing coming, and it's slowly coming. So you have time, you have a day or two to prepare. But with the tsunami, you don't, and it comes really fast. So within 5 hours, right? You got to do stuff. Could have been better prepared on making sure that there's ample fuel in the car. Better prepared on a family plan. So I had my children texting me. One of them said, "So Dad, what's our plan?" Like, get home, that's the plan. But I thought again on that. I said, we really haven't thought about what the plan is for the family. So there's some steps that we have to take to prepare for that in the future, just so that we can be able to help others. And I think that's where I'm coming from more, that, okay, we got to be sure that we can take care of our immediate family so that we can take care of others around us. And the others around us is that we're caring for two grandmothers, my side and my wife's side, my side and my wife's mother. So in all of this mess that we're going through, where we were trying to figure out how to take care of the grandmothers, one lives on her own. So, we're coordinating who's picking her up, who's taking care of her, while we're trying to figure out, Dad's running out of gas. And then we have my mother that stays with us and making sure that she's home. She was out on the road driving. So, can you get home? So our minds were on taking care of others. So if the lessons learned for this was that I got to have some kind of a good plan in effect for the immediate family, so that we can take care of those that really, really need some extra help along the way.
Yeah, no, were you thinking of then backup plans for them as well in this process? Not only were you running out of gas, you were stuck in traffic, trying to get to your wife, but then also worrying in the back of your mind about your mother and your wife's mom. Uh, kind of, I'm sure your mind was racing a million miles a minute.
It was, and it doesn't help when you're listening to all the radio and the updates and people calling in. And so I had to turn the station because people were just calling in with all different scenarios and things that they were observing on the freeway. So that added to the anxiety of trying to take care of others, our family members. So no, we learned even at that level in taking care of our parents, we learned that we're not ready for them to evacuate quickly because they don't have their medication ready. They don't have maybe a bug out pack ready to go. They would kind of rely on us to take care of some of those, not take care of those needs, but to kind of guide them and lead them through some things, right? So they rely on us. So one of my mother-in-law, she lives by herself, and she's within the flood zone. So every time something like this happens, we are trying to coordinate with family on who is going to take care of her, who's going to pick her up. And so they were doing that yesterday. my wife and her siblings were trying to coordinate that yesterday, only to find out that she didn't have the needed medication ready if she needed to move or to get evacuated. So luckily, they were able to get through all of that. Someone was able to get to her and take care of that and move her along to stay with other family members for the time being. So it revealed a lot of holes in our family system. And I told my wife that I'm gonna kind of rededicate myself to making sure that we got some kind of a plan either together so everybody knows.
Yeah, in the beginning of the interview, you mentioned you guys get these alerts pretty often, and sometimes you half listen to them, sometimes it just kind of, it'll come and go, not really anything to worry about. But one thing we've really been comparing the earthquake in Russia to is the earthquake off the coast of Japan back in
Yeah,
2011, and how
yeah.
it really also impacted Hawaii's coastline. Has there any been, or has there been any sort of lessons learned from then to now and moving forward as well, kind of comparing? And yeah, sure, maybe it was just about the same magnitude of earthquake, but the impacts for you guys on the island were significantly different.
Yeah, yeah. So I think there are, and at that level, at the state and local government level, that they've improved. They had a good plan in place this time around. There's a lot of things that happened when that Japan earthquake had happened. That things that didn't happen here in Hawaii, and part of the radio broadcast that I was listening to yesterday was sharing with everyone, the drivers, and that certain things are now open. Roads were open that weren't open during the last tsunami. That they got this one right. They opened up certain roads. They got notifications out as early as possible. They broadcasted every government announcement that got put out, and trying to really reassure the public that we're there to drive with safety, and they're trying to give reports on what areas around town were bad. You might want to consider going this route, going that route. So from that Japan incident, there was improvements at the local level, the state and city government level. There's a lot of improvements that have happened. I'm sure people are still going to have their little opinions about what could have been done better, but it was noticeably different than the last time we experienced the tsunami.
So you would say overall, there has been a little bit more organization, so to speak, when it comes to these sort of emergency systems.
Yeah, yep. The organization is much tighter, and I'll give you an example. The state and local government's relationship and communication with the federal government here in Hawaii, the military in particular. There's a particular road that leads, so the west side, the leeward side of the island, the west side of the island, there's only one way in and one way out from that coastline. The last time we've had emergencies, that's the way they traveled, one way in, one way out. There is a road that the military owns that that connects the west side of the island to the central side of the island, but it's a military access road. In the past, they never opened up that road because of, I guess, maybe not coordinating with the state and local government. This time around, they opened up that road, and it allowed people to move out of the west coast, from the west coast, to move into central Oahu. And they were able to, that's the second access road. So there's going to be a lot of talking. You probably can dig up a lot of information about that. That was one of the things we improved on, is the communication and the work with the Department of Defense here in Hawaii to create a better evacuation plans for the leeward coast of the island. So yes, I'd say there was a definite improvement in communication and working it out. The Lahaina fires kind of triggered that as well. Because if there is a fire on that side of the island and people need to get out, there was only one road in and one road out. So they were able to work this through, and it worked. The people, I think the count was maybe about 400 cars. They were counting cars that were moving through there to at least give access to another way out for our residents on the leeward side of the island.
Yeah, and kind of bringing it a little bit of that comparison between what you guys were experiencing in Hawaii. We may not have seen the severity here along our Oregon coastlines, but we saw those tsunami watches and even
Yeah,
advisories being issued along our coastline. And for a
yeah.
lot of people, it may have been well, this is my first time experiencing something like this, but how would you say that people here along our coastline? I mean, we've been waiting for that big one for quite some time now. Supposedly, this big one's coming, but from your experience, I mean, both back in with the Japan earthquake, this Russian earthquake, what can you give as far as pointers of advice for people living here along our coastlines to be ready for the possibility of that?
I think first off, you need to listen to those experts that are making the calls on where this wave is and what needs to be done. That's what we've relied on here in Hawaii is to listen to that. We have nowhere to go, right? We can't go to another state real quickly. We have to we only have what we have here. So we've been trained, I guess you could say, to listen to these warnings and to know how to know how to move when we need to move. That would be the biggest advice I would give any other community along the West Coast is to just listen to the advisories that are coming out. One of the things that we learned and I learned, I guess they really over communicated a lot of stuff this time around. But one of the things that I learned was that the same group of people that are making the calls for Hawaii are also feeding information to I think it's to Japan. So it's the Pacific Rim. So it come down in Washington, Oregon, all the way down there. They're communicating to for those coastlines as well, not just Hawaii. I didn't realize that. I always thought they were just talking to us the whole time, but they're actually sending the same messages to either their partners or other offices that are on different coasts. I think they called it the Ring of Fire. So it's running that. Japan up to the Aleutian Islands, coming back down the coast of Canada, and then Washington, Oregon, and all those states there. So then they're pretty good. They pegged the size of these waves pretty good. I was impressed. So I would say that yeah, I think at this point you can trust in the technology that we have. Mother Nature's going to do what she wants to do. They may not always follow the models that they have, but I guess they have so much data now coming in from all different buoys and different areas, and they're trying to put all that data together to come out with some possible scenario. And from what I saw here in Hawaii, what they gathered at, I think it was Midway Island. That's kind of like the first bellwether to tell us what's going to happen in Hawaii, whatever's happening at Midway. And the model that they had at Midway, it mirrored what happened in Hawaii. The size of the waves were around the same size. So I was impressed with that, which means I would say there's confidence in the experts that are doing this. So to listen to that, to those reports, the alerts, heed that local law enforcement. They're doing it for our safety, right? We had a few people that went down to the beach and wanted to watch the wave come in, and I'm sure there's always going to be people like that. But for the most part, the community responded, and the community listened and moved. So I would say the same for any West Coast state that is going to be dealing with this in the future.
Yeah. Now, one last thing. I feel like there is almost this Hawaii to Oregon pipeline, both with the university, with people living here. What would you say as far as kind of that connector between Hawaii and Oregon, um, to kind of either a words of advice or just a words of relief for some of the people both in Hawaii and here? who kind of are saying, okay, this is come and gone as that kind of connection.
Yeah. I would say our model here, and I could relay that up to the family in Oregon, to live with aloha and drive with aloha. And during those times, a lot of people need to bring that spirit out here in Hawaii in order to take care of each other. And of course, the anxiety levels start to go up. But if there is some connection and there is this pipeline between Hawaii and Oregon, well, it's maybe it is that aloha spirit, and to live it and drive it during those times. Um, the other advice I might give to those living in that area, again, would just be to listen to the alerts and the experts that are making these calls there, because it works. It worked here in Hawaii. I don't see why it would not work in Oregon. It just may be different times and time zones and things, different land topography, I think causes that wave to act differently. So I wouldn't know exactly how it would act hitting Oregon, Washington area, but it would just be to listen to those experts.
Well, is there anything else you would want to include
Include.
or any last minute thoughts that you would want to say for anyone watching, maybe here who has family in Hawaii? Would you want to say to them or just anything?
Okay. For those for our ohana that are living in Oregon, then know that your ohana back here in Hawaii yeah, made it through another one, made it through safely, and you folks know that we live this every so often with a tropical storm, a hurricane, or a tsunami, so we kind of know what to do already. And Hawaii is in good hands because we have good people that live with a lot of aloha here. So thank you.
Of course. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, I hope that comes out okay.
Yes, it came out great. You did
I just kind of
amazing.
vomited all over you, so
It's okay. That's sometimes that's where we get the best interviews from. You just
yeah, yeah.
vomit.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, I tried to give you a lot of stuff so you
No,
can figure out what works in
you gave
your
me a lot
thing.
of great insight. I think
Yeah.
one, if anything, one last quick thing. Um, w- w- I guess we never got the answered question. Did you make it home before that 7:15 time?
Yes, we
Okay.
made it home at around 6:45.
Wow.
Yeah,
So just
so we
about
just,
15 to
yep,
30 minutes.
right, and then we just got into the house, and the news was on, and we're just watching that and seeing what was going to happen. So yeah, we did. Then we live on the
Good.
east side of the island, so by the time you hit a certain point, the traffic starts to open up because everyone's that's not a business district or anything like that. So it all started to open up. So we made it home. We made it home.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Good to know. Good to know you made it home in time. And I guess also, were you guys able to see some of those waves on your drive? You mentioned you were driving right along the coastline.
Yeah, no, it was a little bit too early because that didn't happen until about 7:30, right? So it was a little bit too early for that. So no, we didn't get to see it. We were watching it through whatever feeds the stations were giving us. But